The city budget has taken some hits as a result of the energy crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. What are your city budget priorities, both during the ongoing pandemic and afterward? And what would be your priorities in regards to city spending?
See, I think because I've worked with major corporations, multi-billion-dollar corporations, they all have the same, from Great Lakes to where I'm at, the same philosophy. Well, I need a bigger budget next year. So in the third quarter, we're going to spend all the extra money we have to spend so that we can ask for 3% more, 4% more, 5% more. So my goal is when I first actually get into office is to go through that budget and find out who's doing that. What are we spending money on? What are we throwing money down the drain? Employees, they're safe. I have no desire to get rid of employees. But let's find out where we're throwing money away. And the best way to find that out is ask the employees that are worried about their jobs. Where do you see the money going? What's being spent? Then dissect the budget right now. Because right now, the budget that I've pulled off a line, it gives you basics, but it doesn't show you what they're spending and when they're spending it. It just says how much they have to spend throughout the year. We actually need to see where they're spending it, what they're spending it on, and what are they throwing money down the drain. We're supposed to be a paperless society. How many millions of dollars are we spending, or how many hundreds of thousands of dollars are we spending on paper? What are we spending on ice? Are we buying ice? I know that one spot spent $10,000, not here in the city, $10,000 a year on ice for their employees because they were buying it in bags. And for $3,000, we got an ice machine, and now for $100 a year in water, they have the same $10,000 in ice for $50 a year. So those are the things that we need to look at. We need to find out where is the money being spent, where is it being thrown away, and what's not being wisely used, and what's disappearing in the third quarter. And then reduce those budgets back. And I think we'll find that we can cure our budget issues from that point. And I also want to get away from counting on Cheyenne Frontier Days. And don't take me wrong. I love Cheyenne Frontier Days with a passion. I want Cheyenne to look for other ways to bring money in. The DDA putt-putt golf thing was a hit. I mean, everybody and their cousin went to it. The Summer on the Streets was a hit. Everybody came up to it. The cruise, I made a phone call to a radio station in Denver and got another 150 cars to come up here. Just real simple little things to draw people to come to Cheyenne. That's the tax dollars. It's great to have the industry to employ the people, but it's the small businesses that are being spent on, where the money is going to, that's going into the city coffers, that we're spending on keeping the city alive. So the budget has to be looked at from a third quarter push, and then find other ways to build that budget back up.
Well, I saw on Mayor Orr's Facebook page this morning that sales tax revenues for 2020 August were higher than 2019 in August. So that's a positive note. Haven't had a chance to look at that. I'm guessing full service restaurants are low, but outdoor sports and other areas are higher. But that's good news that in our pandemic that things are going a little bit better. From a priority point of view, I mean, I think the first thing you have to do is the health, safety, welfare stuff. So when you call 911, the citizens have to know that a police officer and a fire truck are going to show up in a timely manner. They're going to be well trained and well equipped, and they're going to do a good job. That when you turn on your faucet, that your water is going to be some of the best in the nation, and that's not going to change. And that when you flush your toilet or pull the plug on your bathtub, that the water treatment plant is going to work, those types of things. So I think that that has to be our priority, and still having some of the quality of life stuff to make sure that like the Civic Center, while it's not a profitable place, it sure is an important thing for the quality of life of our community. And our Ice and Event Center, it's actually making a profit in February. Before COVID, they'd gotten it down to the point where it was actually like $25,000 in the black, and was looking good for the year, that they found the secret sauce to making that one work. But we have to make sure that we have that balance of recreational facilities and things like that are open for the residents. And so I would definitely prioritize that. And you haven't asked me about roads, but I will tell you that's going to be a really high priority for me. Hopefully the City Council will share that that idea. We get $4.5 million a year in the fifth penny sales tax, but we have $28 million sitting in the bank we haven't spent from not this current fifth penny, but the previous one, the current fifth penny, and the sixth penny that we passed, 4 years ago. There's $28 million. When I met with our treasurer here a few months ago, that hasn't been spent. And so I think those dollars, with a 4.5, we need to spend about $10 million a year for the next 10 years to get our roads back into shape. We have a $144 million deferred maintenance deficit on our roads currently. It's a $1 billion thing. So for me, definitely high priority for me is going to be roads. And you can't spend the road money on anything else. It was voted on by the voters to be roads, but we're going to work really hard on getting to the basics of road maintenance and getting the roads back into passable numbers. I have all the stuff here, but they go from good to satisfactory, I think, to fair, and we're down in that third category now. We've dropped in the last few years another whole category. And with $4.5 million a year, we'll be well below that another 4 or 5 years. So we've got to get started, and we've got to take a long-term approach. So the life cycle of a road, Ken Lewis told me this years ago, and every expert I've talked to says the same thing. You build a new road, and as soon as you build the road, it's going to start to crack. So you crack fill, and you crack fill. Every time there's a crack, you fill it so that water can't get underneath and ruin what happens underneath the road and form a pothole. And then someplace between 5, 7, 10 years later, you're going to put a seal coat on it. It could be a sand seal, it could be an oil seal, it could be a chip seal, but you got to put something on there. That seals the road so water can't get in, keeps the UV rays from destroying the oil on the top, and that's good for another 10 years. And then you got to grind off an inch, and you got to put a new coat of fresh asphalt on it, and then you start crack filling again, and then 7 to 10 years later, you do a seal on it, and then 10 years after that, you do another grind and overlay, and you can do that for 80 to 100 years. So if you can stay up on the maintenance, then it's not that expensive to run roads. But once you let them go, then it's like $1 million a mile or more to take care of them. So our job is to make sure that our good roads right now, we got to get them sealed and make sure that they don't further deteriorate, and then start picking away at the roads. And the goal would be that every 10 years, we'll have major maintenance on every road in the Cheyenne at least once every 10 years. We have 341 miles of roads and about a little over 1,000 lane miles of roads. So it's a huge undertaking. But when I saw $144 million, it made me think we were talking YDOT, not Cheyenne. And so it's a big deal. And so if you're asking what a budget priority for me will be, is to make sure that we go to the 6 penny sales tax and we ask the voters again to put the maintenance of those roads on there. When I was on the city council, Amber Ash and I challenged Representative Byrd to fix that. You could build roads on the 6 penny, but you couldn't do maintenance on them. Made no sense to me. You know, you're letting us build these roads, but we don't have enough money. And so I get a call from the LSO, and it's like, come on down, help us write a bill. By God, he got it passed. So the last 6 penny was the first time we've ever put maintenance on for roads, and I think that's going to have to be an ongoing thing. But once we get where roads are stabilized, then instead of being $10 or $12 million a year, it could fall back to $4 or $5 million a year after that. So it's something that we need to get ahead of and get on it. So.